All right, all right. I'm waiting for Tucker to attempt a kick, and it is good. Yeah, so it's 17-3. If only we could have taken advantage of the opportunities that are in front of us. But hey, we had 2 turnovers. We had 2 fumble recoveries on this Ravens team in the first half. And if you hear my dog whining in the background, it's because he's on timeout again. We're just going to learn to accept some stressors that are around us. I can feel tension in Seahawks Twitter right now. In the Seahawks community right now, you're like, holy shit, we are down 3-17. Geno Smith threw a touchdown, an interception. That's how I feel. We can't really move the ball, and when we do, it looks chaotic, right? Except for if it wasn't for that DK, deep catch, right? We can't run for shit. We can't block for shit. Jason Peters came in and then got replaced by Forsythe, so clearly he was a waste of time, right? There's all this gloom and doom. But I want to let you know that I'm watching a game and I'm upset, but it's also going exactly the way I expected. If you watched what I had to say on Friday, and I don't think you did, I talked to you about footwork. And let's talk about Lamar. He looks immaculate right now. It's amazing that we've held them to 17 points. I said that they might be able to put up 30 on us because of the way he's playing. And I talked about the difference between a normal quarterback's footwork and an elite quarterback's footwork. So in like college and in high school, if they even do it in high school, right? That's the other thing. But in a West Coast offense, you have a quarterback that starts and they go 1, 2, 3. Am I going to throw the ball? Nope. 1, 2. That's the 5th step. Am I going to throw the ball? Nope. 1, 2. That's the 7th step. This is the West Coast offense. It's been around for a long time. Made Joe Montana and the rest of them really famous. Most quarterbacks that follow this system, which is really modernized, they go straight back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then that's really all their footwork can handle, and the rest they kind of shuffle around. But amazing quarterbacks. Just the best of the best. Like Peyton Manning, like Tony Romo, like Aaron Rodgers. They have constantly moving feet. Like a clock. Like a dance. Where you have to stay in rhythm. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? You can't be all over the place because there are 10 other players in the field that need to know you are going at a certain pattern. And Lamar Jackson, when you look at his footwork, is in perfect rhythm. And so most quarterbacks, when you make it to the NFL, you have that perfect rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with your feet. And if you get really good, you have that stompy rhythm, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And you can see it really pronounced because you can tell they've been working on in the off season. They often overdo it, right, to make it really apparent on tape so scouts can see, oh, he's been practicing this, right? He knows what he's doing. But when you get under stress, right, and your internal clock starts going all over the place, like what happening to Geno right now, where Clowney and company are just all over him, your clock starts to get thrown off. So you need to be able to go back to that rhythm, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And what's happening, and if you look at the DK play, it's a great play, right? And it's a great play for the offensive line because the offensive line was able to create a pocket for Geno, and he decides to step up, which is good because they're getting beat on the back end. When you get to the 7th step, most pass rushers on the outside, when they're trying to beat the outside tackles, the tackles on the outside, the tackles are forcing them outside, and when the quarterback feels the pressure along the back, they want to step up. Good quarterbacking, right? But when you look as he hits his fifth step, he hesitates. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And on that fifth point, the wheel is turning for Geno because he's reading. So he's hit his second read. Second read isn't open. So he needs to find his third read. And this is an important critique. This isn't a criticism. This is me just saying this is something that he needs to work on. So he hit DK in stride. And so I need to look at the tape, and I probably won't, but to be honest with you. And I'm sure because Maddie and company are probably going to be like, this was an explosive. We need to break this down, right? But and they're probably not going to look at Geno's footwork because they don't have the time. They're probably going to look at the DBs and other things like that, which are important, right? But when you look at DK, it is possible that there was like maybe a linebacker underneath or something. But when I looked at the play, I'm pretty sure he was wide open for quite a while. So it just took Geno, in my mind, and I don't know for sure, a little while to figure out to even find where the third guy was, DK, the third read. And this makes sense because on the seventh step, the third read is probably either going to be the farthest guy or he's going to be your check. He's going to be your safety outlet, like on the flat or a tight end in a curl or something like that. So let's get back to Lamar. So Geno typically plays in that vertical set. And on Friday, what I talked about is that elite quarterback play. What they anticipate is that a tight end or something is going to need a special angle for a throwing lane so that you can move and get out of the way of a defender on the defensive line ahead of time and throw everything off. And it also adds to play action because when you make a certain move in the pocket, the linebackers and the safeties anticipate that you might be moving out of the pocket. So they have to adjust. So imagine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's say on the fourth step, instead of going to the fifth step vertically backwards, you go horizontal to the right. And this is what Lamar Jackson did. And he did it in rhythm instead of scrambling. Many times you hit the fifth step and you start to freak out, right? And there was no pressure coming from the left side. If you feel pressure, it's natural for a quarterback like Tony Romo or somebody to start to slide over, right? But he naturally knew in the pocket, hey, if I slide over, then I have this whole throwing lane on the right side. I only have to worry about the left end covering my right tackle where Morgan Moses used to be. And then it creates this whole vertical seam for my tight end. And I don't have to worry about any flailing limbs or anything like that. I can just give him this nice open spot for his hands. It's free. It's like playing 7-on-7. And instead of going directly back to his fifth spot, he just slid over. In chess, it's like when you try to slide over with the rook. And so normally a king can only move one spot. And then if you do that, it slides all over and it creates a shift, right? Into the entire front. And so suddenly all the defenders are on the other side and they're away from the quarterback, and it just shifts the playing field. And so by the quarterback taking just one step over, suddenly it shifts the playing field. And it's a normal play. It was something that was, this footwork type of thing has been done since the AFL, before the merger. But it's still, it's a type of quarterback play that is underrated, and it's why they get paid the big bucks, right? It's why he's MVP caliber. Because when you combine that with, I'm going to take my fifth step, and you have to wait there to cover Andrews, because I might just take my sixth and seventh step and then bolt outside. Well, I've already ran a scheme with OBJ and company to get Witherspoon and Trey. Well, who's now going to cover me? Because your end isn't keeping me contained within my fifth spot. If he hits the fifth spot, what we want our end to do is to take that tackle Moses and keep him there. But because Andrews is being beat, Mafe or whoever is covering Moses isn't keeping containment there. And we keep seeing Lamar breaking off to the left side too. It's just creating a bunch of chaos, which is why the Ravens team is so good. But we just we're bearing with it, which is great, with the strip sacks and OBJ doing it. But the problem is our offense isn't rewarding our defense with their great play. And it's like I said the day before, and then on Saturday, we need to quote Goku, we need to beat you up, right? And we need to be like Marshawn Lynch. We need to run you over and over and over. We need to, bring it to you. And right now, Forsyth is just kind of, and, it's because he's going against Clowney and all these other dogs, but you're putting him in a position where he can't use his length. He's in an immediate retreat every single time these guys who are more athletic than him and more experienced than him are just coming right at him. And you're not pushing. You're not hitting him. You're not using advantage of what you have, and you're not putting a second level behind to also attack, right? I mentioned the overload fronts that attack offensive linemen. You need overload fronts to attack defensive linemen as well, to knock them back, to create that length of the spear. And we have seen some good runs with Walker through the middle lanes on that strong side today, but we haven't seen any consistent attempts. And so I'd like to see in this next half some consistent attempts so that Geno can relax a little bit and then get back into that rhythm. I don't want to see him hit the seventh step. I want to see him hit that fifth step. We need some 5-step plays so that we can initiate a good play action. Because typically the 5-step opens up for the tight ends. And if we can get the 5-step consistently, that means that the offensive line is doing a good job. I think that's about it. We're probably going to exit out of halftime pretty soon. There was one other thought that I had. I called it. I fucking called it. What did I say about the way that my football is still all the way over there? I said that Lamar Jackson holds the ball like this. And it wasn't what happened. He was, but I said that it would be Mafe. I nailed it. I'm also concerned about this weekly theme of Geno and his receiving targets being out of sync, and how it's suddenly the receiver's target issue. If it was one target, if it's, Geno and DK are out of sync. He threw 14 targets and DK only caught 5. And when you look at the tape, it wasn't throwaways and stuff. DK was really out of sync. But it's not just DK. It's also JSN and Lockett and the tight ends and the running. It's a consistent theme that for some reason he's out of sync. And if his footwork is also out of sync, as I mentioned earlier, maybe that's part of the problem. So that interception is the same problem that he had against Cleveland And it's kind of the same thing that was happening earlier this year and at the end of last year. And I guess the difference is he wasn't getting all those competitive preseason reps from last year. But it doesn't make sense because now we're like in week 8. So what's the deal, Gino? Week 9? What's the deal, Gino? I was a Gino truther to the point of you get what you get, but I don't want an offense led by Gino. You know my philosophy. It should be led by the offensive line, and it should be led by the shield. A shield is a weapon, and you need to create lanes and passing lanes, and you need to create rushing lanes. And we're not really doing either the way that we're using Geno Smith, who is a weapon, but I don't think we're using him right and setting him up for success by making him bear everything. He did it last year to some success until teams caught wise, but I just feel like he's not being set up for success. And I called him to be benched last week, and I called him to be benched after the interception this week, not because I'm like, oh, Drew Lock is the guy, like a lot of the haters. And I would be like, yeah, he can start like later in the game or next week, purely because I don't think he's in rhythm. And I think there's something subconsciously, not like he's depressed or something like that. I think he needs to like get in rhythm. And sometimes, like when I'm playing a game or I'm in something, if I'm in a bad rhythm, I need to get pulled out of it and then put back in after I like get yanked out of that bad rhythm. And I feel like he's been in a bad rhythm all year. And since he's not that elite type of player with that elite footwork, you need to pull him out so that he can get his footwork and his rhythm back in order. And so, like, I don't hate him. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying you need to use him the right way, and he might need some coaching to get his footwork and his rhythm back on, and make sure that this is an offensive line led team. Anyways, I think that's halftime. So I'll catch you guys later. Hopefully this goes well.